Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys, I'm not sure where that came from. Now today's first story comes from the Am I Wrong subreddit from Mental Platypus 5193, and it says, my son filed harassment charges against me and my husband because we were making him go to college. Me and my son moved to the US last year. I was a single mum for 16 years before I met and then married my husband. I saved up money so he can go to college. Where I came from, college is very important. We moved to a small town and my son found new friends. These friends, in my opinion, were not a good influence. I am used to polite and academically oriented kids back home. These new friends of his make fun of his books and his plans of going to college. Before his high school graduation, me and my husband took him to several unis in the States so he could get a feel for which one he would like to go to. Then after he graduated from high school, I told him I have about $20,000 saved up for college. He said it's not going to fit because tuition is pretty expensive nowadays. I suggested he can just go to a community college 20 minutes away and live at home to save money. He agreed and I gave him access to the fund. Joint account. Long story short, he did not enroll himself and instead started partying a lot and used the money on expensive dates with his girlfriend. He moved out and he stopped talking to me. I worked hard to save that up for more than a decade and I'm upset that he wasted it in less than a year. Me and my husband went to his place and asked that he pay me back since it is specifically for college and not fun money. He called the police and filed harassment charges. I told the police to review the CCTV footage because the whole time I was talking to him through his ring cam, I was calm and reasonable, and my husband was just standing behind me not saying anything. I was outside the door talking. He never even opened the door to talk to me face to face. The police said there's nothing he can do if my son and his girlfriend felt harassed. He can file a restraining order if he wants to. Back home, this is unforgivable to treat your parent like this, but here in the US, I was treated almost like a criminal. My sister-in-law said it is my fault for confronting him and that money is his to spend since I made him a joint account owner. Am I wrong? Edit, people cursing me because I said something about wanting to throw my chancla at my son's face. To be clear, I've never laid my hands or my flip-flops on him ever. But after what he did, my intrusive thoughts wants me to throw it, but of course I won't. If he called the cops on me just because I want to talk to him, what more if I threw my flip-flops on his face? His relationship with me before moving to the US was fine. He knew my struggle as a single mum, and he always tries to help me around the house. I was not strict at all. He was free to go out with friends anytime. He was even thrilled to have a father figure, and my husband always tries to make him feel included in everything. A commenter said to OP, lesson learned. Never give someone access to money unless you're okay with them running away with it. OP replied saying he was a good boy before moving here. I thought he knew my struggles and how much I sacrificed to save money. I just thought he would never betray me like this. Ding Dong says, honestly, I think a lot of parents don't realize the depth of their children and forget that just because you think of them as one way doesn't mean they don't have other layers that can make them a different person. Sadly, your son has found some less than savory friends to surround himself with, and now he has to live with a decision he made. I honestly wouldn't offer help for university again and would leave communication up to him. Also, has there been any questions or discussion of potential drug use? Commenter says, the money is gone, and since he was a joint account holder and a legal adult, there's nothing to be done except refuse to help him financially anymore. Let him figure it out on his own from now on. The friends he had will likely drift away now that he no longer has a fat bank account to fund their party lifestyle. Treacle Moon says her biggest fault is waiting till it was all gone to do something about it. She had joint access. She could have stepped in long before now and tried to deal with it. Too little, too late, unfortunately. So it was 12 days after that OP came back in and said, I still have not heard from my son and I didn't expect him to reach out, but his girlfriend's mother has called me asking if my house is still open to him. I asked her why. It turns out he hasn't paid his share of the last month's rent and his girlfriend had to pay it for him. I said it's not my problem and he is not welcome anymore in my house since he's an adult. The girlfriend's mum said, what kind of mother would not extend help to his teenage son? She further insulted me and said she now knows why he left me. At this point, I really don't care anymore. I tried to help him get a good start in life, but he wasted it. Aside from the $20K, he lived rent-free in the house, free food, free phone, car, gas money, and I pay all the utility bills and his health insurance. All I asked is that he focus on his studies, finish at least an associate's degree so he can get a decent job and be fully independent from me ASAP. For some who ask why college is so important to me, as an immigrant, we are held under certain standards. We have to prove to USCIS that we will not become a public charge, meaning we won't rely on any government aid. I want him to be able to be a good immigrant and become productive. I don't even know if he can become a citizen if he makes below poverty income. I was just trying to make sure he gets to live a good life. Some of you asked if he even wanted to go to college. Back when we were in our home country, he begged me to please send him to college no matter what. P.S. The harassment charge was closed for lack of evidence of harassment. A lot of what he said was lies. Edit, another thing that gave me chills was when he moved out, it was in the middle of the night and me and my husband were both asleep. My son left the door hanging open. I saw it on the camera. We live in a small town, but there's a lot of crime in our area. Someone could have got in and done something bad. A commenter said to OP, some people just have to learn the hard way. His girlfriend probably had a good time with him spending his college fund. Now that that's gone, the fun is over. So comes the reality. Like Canadian says, so you're saying this is the find out stage that follows the fuck around stage? Commenter replies, yep. Another one says his girlfriend's mum has no right to bitch you out. Your son left, spend his college fund, and now has to figure out how to adult. You do not owe him anything at this point. Commenter says she's just calling her out because she's realizing now that she has to take care of this bum. Butterfly says, yep, she too is on the find out stage. 8 days later, Opie came in again and said his girlfriend's mum called me again today and basically handed the phone to my son to sort it out between us. I let him just talk and tell me what is on his mind. Here's a summary of his point of view. He felt like I deprived him of a lot of things growing up. I couldn't buy him an Xbox, PlayStation, iPhone, or anything a teenager wants when we're in our home country. I can't afford it. Back when I was making $1K a month and saving 20% of it for his college fund and whatever was left for us to live on. I was helping my parents too with some groceries, so money was really, really tight. When I look back now, I don't know how I made it all fit. He felt so small because his clothes were hand-me-downs from cousins or just cheap clothes I bought from Tianguis. Apologies about that pronunciation, but it says on Google that it's like a market. Opie continues. He said, I was not supportive unlike his friend's parents. Some of his friends have wealthy parents who bought their sons a house and never had to go to college or think about their future because they will inherit the family farm anyway. I have no generational wealth to be that supportive. I wish I had. He said I have so much house rules. Yes, I do. I want him to wash his plates after eating. I used to do it for him. Clean his room and keep it tidy. Make sure the windows are tightly shut in the winter. Keep the thermostat at 68 during the winter to save electricity. Come home at 11 PM or else the house will be double locked from the inside for my safety because my husband drives a truck and not home at night most of the time. I told him before that since he has a part-time job, he can't use my credit card for anything but emergencies anymore, but he still used it sometimes anyway. Car's been frozen since he moved out. I asked him why file charges when I only wanted some explanation from him. He said he doesn't want to inconvenience his girlfriend and filing charges is the easiest way to get me to stop trying to talk to him. So basically, he felt deprived as a kid, that he thinks he was just healing his inner child when he spent the money. He said his friends told him I owe that to him for bringing him into this world. He thinks that I should not have a child if I can't afford these things. I asked him why he left the door open that night. He went silent for a few seconds, then said, I just thought if the house got robbed, I could just say I cashed the money from the bank and the robbers must have found it. Unbelievable. At this point, I was so emotional and I was a crying mess. I told him I'm deeply sorry that I was his mum and that he had to grow up feeling deprived because I was poor. Then he said, oh, stop with your guilt tripping. You are saying that to make me feel bad. Oh, and he also said that he hates it when I do this. Basically, OP linked to a YouTube video of it's titled When Hispanic Parents Tell You to Come Eat. And OP said, I don't yell like that lady, but I pretty much bug him to get up and help me set the table. I never get a response, so I had to raise my voice higher. He said I was so rude, but he grew up with this. This is me being me. All mums back home do this. All of a sudden, he is comparing me to his mum's friends. In our culture, we want food to be eaten while it's fresh from the stove. I spent 1 hour cooking after a long day at work. The least you can do is help me set the table and eat my food while it's nice and warm. I hung up. My heart is broken in so much pieces. Am I wrong? Commenter says to OP, He has a chip on both shoulders. Leave him be. It's despicable he left the door open so you are vulnerable to burglars. Absolutely no consideration for your safety at all. Commoner says dude's a spoiled brat and an idiot to not see his friends were using him. You need to cut him off and let him figure things out. Commoner says not spoiled. Mum could not spoil him. Entitled. This child believes he's entitled to the same things his friends grew up with, even though his parents provided the best they could provide. OP, your son has made his bed. Let him sleep in it. Bloody hell, blowing that 20k, calling the cops on your mum, and even admitting you'd risk her safety to cover up isn't healing, it's just entitlement. Sure, there was people calling out, the initial mistake of giving him full access to the money, sure, but he didn't just misuse it, he burned the relationship with no accountability whatsoever. At this point, the money's gone, and there's nothing that can be done about that. But I think the only thing you can really do is let that reality hit him, really. But what do you guys make of this situation? What do you think the best path forward is? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account, has a trigger warning on it of homophobia, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It's titled, My brother-in-law is making claims that he knows my secret, and I don't understand. My brother-in-law, 30 male, is my sister's 29 female husband. We live on opposite sides of the country, and my sister and I aren't that close, so I'd say that we don't know each other very well. We see each other at family gatherings maybe a few times a year, and he's always come off as a very average, kind of quiet guy. Around 2 months ago, I received a text from him out of the blue. It wasn't to check up on me or asking how I'm doing. The message said he's aware of what's going on, but that there was no need for me to worry, and he'd keep it hush hush. I just wrote a quick message back asking what on earth he meant. But all I received back was another reassurance that I had nothing to worry about, and that he was on my side. At that point, I gave up and assumed it was some weird joke, even though my brother-in-law has always been pretty serious. Recently, I was in a Zoom call with my parents and sister. The first thing my sister asked when she saw me was, "Are you going to tell everyone the truth or just my husband?" Obviously, I was confused, and I mentioned the text message brother-in-law sent me, but my sister still seemed angry at me, and I have no idea why. The next day, I called up my brother-in-law and asked him what the hell is going on with this. He was very cagey on the phone and just kept repeating rhetorical questions back at me, like, "Do you know what's going on?" I'll admit that I lost my temper at one point and snapped at him, since he wasn't giving me any answers. That was a bad idea, since this morning I got a new text from brother-in-law telling me that he tried to do me a favor that I clearly don't appreciate. He mentioned that we'll see what happens this weekend, which is the next time we're all meeting for a late Thanksgiving. Honestly, I'm terrified. The thing is, I have no idea what secret my brother-in-law could possibly be talking about. I don't live a very exciting life, and I mostly keep to myself. There's still part of me that's scared of whatever the truth he says he's about to reveal, even though I don't think I've done anything wrong. What do I do? Epiphany says, my first thought was that you might have a vindictive ex who posted nudes of you online or something, but that shouldn't make your sister mad at you, unless she's mad that her husband went looking for nudes online, and it's easier to be mad at you than at him. Second thought is, there's a porn actor out there that looks kind of like you, and he thinks he has a blackmail material because he's an idiot. In any case, since your brother-in-law is clearly devoted to being an ass, call your sister. What the hell is your idiot husband doing? He's been sending me messages for months about keeping some secret quiet. I have no fucking idea what he's talking about, but it sounds like he told you. So would you mind cluing me in? Another one says, rumors and more. Talk to your sister and tell her you have no idea what's going on for her to find out, and to tell you before they get together. Otherwise, the way things are stacked, you might be walking into a roadside bomb situation. Opie responds saying it's going to be hard to talk to them. My family and I aren't close at all, and growing up, I always took the blame for everything that went wrong in our house. I'm really scared that my parents will believe whatever my brother-in-law tells them because I'm the troublemaker of the family. I can't even think about what kind of secret this guy might know. I mean, I got a hint from the trigger warning we had on this post, right? But what I'm really struggling to get past is this grown man playing weird mind games instead of just speaking plainly. Constant text about, I know your secret, the rhetorical questions, all this kind of bullshit. That would piss me off really quick. But it was 16 days later that Opie came in and said, hi everyone. Just before Thanksgiving, I posted about my brother-in-law harassing me over a secret. Well, Thanksgiving came and I was terrified. I almost backed out entirely and stayed in bed all day instead of going to the Zoom meeting. I did end up going in the end, and the first 20 minutes were incredibly awkward. My family and I aren't really compatible at the best of times, but there were silences that lasted minutes. Eventually my mother gave in and said, "We'd better get this over with." I've never been more terrified in my life. I somehow snapped my phone case in half because I fidget with things when I'm nervous. My brother-in-law started talking about how he'd tried to keep my secret from me, but I clearly wasn't grateful. And then he told everyone, "You should know that she's gay." Everything got really awkward again, except for a different reason. My whole family knows I'm gay. I have no idea how brother-in-law never found out before now. I don't get on with my family, but me being gay has never been one of our issues. It's something nobody bothers me about and we don't talk about. My sister lost it with him immediately and said, "Really? This is what you've been going on about?" We ended up ending the Zoom call very early since my parents decided they were tired, but I think they just both didn't want to deal with this anymore and were sick of me and brother-in-law. I've decided to block brother-in-law's number in my phone, since other than this, we had no messages anyway, and I'm not going to be visiting my sister anytime soon. Bloody hell, what an absolute prick. And I was absolutely side-eyeing the whole family in this, because the whole dynamic sounded really sad too. Like, they accept her being gay in the sense that they don't fight about it, but it also sounds like they don't engage with her at all, which is awful. I know people also talking about being the basically the default scapegoat growing up, and the parents immediately wanting to end the call instead of backing her up properly. Doesn't exactly scream support, does it? But regardless, I do wish Opie all the best going forward. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account, also from the Relationship Advice subreddit. It says, "My girlfriend, 32 female, has been very sad since she found out her ex-boyfriend is getting married. So I, 30 male, have been dating my girlfriend for about 4 months now. Everything was going great for us till she learned that her ex-boyfriend of 9 years was getting married. They'd broken up in June last year and we started dating in July this year. We have tons in common and we really enjoyed each other's company. Anyways, last week one of her old friends who knew her ex informed my girlfriend that he was getting married to his new girlfriend. My girlfriend was shocked to say the least, and when her friend left, she went on Facebook and spent almost an hour looking through his profile. Okay, he was a long-time boyfriend, so she must have been curious. But ever since that day, she's been really sad and stressed and keeps spending her time on Facebook looking through everything about her ex and his bride-to-be. When I finally asked if he was the one who got away from her, she denied it. She said something along the lines of, "I want to see what's special about her." She says she isn't pining for him. He didn't treat her well, and that even if he asked her, she wouldn't go back. In fact, he'd reached out to her multiple times after breaking up, but she turned him down every time. To Reddit, my question is this: if you don't love him still, then why would you be so sad about his marriage? Why keep obsessing over his bride-to-be? What am I missing here? Now, I get why Opie would be concerned about this because, you know, if you see your partner looking at an ex, of course you're going to be concerned. But I can also get probably where she's coming from as well. You know, 9 years together and he turns around and marries the next girl. I can imagine that could mess with your head in some way, even if you don't want him back. You know, putting questions in your head such as like, why wasn't I enough? What did she have that I didn't? Even if logically she knows the relationship wasn't good. I think it's less about missing him and more about what the situation means about her and that whole chapter of her life, if you like. The commenter says, he strung her along for 9 years and is marrying the girl he only recently met. That's probably where her sadness is coming from. Why wasn't she good enough to garner a commitment like marriage? What does this girl have that she doesn't? Not logical, but that's probably what's running through her mind. Commenter says, yeah, especially if it's a guy who tore down her self-esteem. Revolutionary says, there's a huge part of her life for 9 years, so it's understandable that she's grieving. Not that her ex so efficiently moved on. 9 years with someone means you likely expected to spend the rest of your life together. It doesn't mean she wants you back, but 1 year after a whole decade of your life, along with all hopes and emotional investment that it took, what she's going through is understandable. Opie says you might be right. I don't know the intricate details of their breakup, but she did say that they broke up because they couldn't agree on the future. And she has mentioned to me that she does not want to be married and have kids. Putting these 2 points together, the situation might have been closer to what you describe. And to be honest, her ex did sound like a tool. He made 5 times her salary, but they always made 50-50 on expenses. On our first date, I took her out to a fancy restaurant, which I also wanted to visit for a long time. We had a gala time, was it great time? But the next day she called me and apologized and told me that she would only be able to pay her half of the meal in installments as she didn't have that much cash at the moment. It took me a moment to understand she was talking about the dinner last night. I told her that I invited her, so it was my treat, and she told me that her ex-boyfriend made her transfer her share after every outing they had, all throughout their relationship. It was weird to be honest, but I didn't probe much further as it was just after our first date. So some point later, OP does come in with an update and says I got a lot of advice on my last post. Thank you. Most of it was helpful, with a lot of commenters detailing their own personal and painful experiences with similar situations. It was an eye-opening experience for me. There was special thanks to those commenters. Some commenters were regular Reddit advice to break up, and one of them even called me a cucumber. But all in all, making this post did really help me a lot in deciding how to approach this with my girlfriend. So anyways, now let's get on with the actual update. After reading the comments and doing some thinking, I decided the best course of action is to talk to her. So I went to her favorite restaurant, got her favorite dish, packed, and then went to her apartment. When she came out, I told her that, look, I can't say I understand what you are going through, because I don't. It's something personal to you, and as much as I would like to help you out or share some of your grief, I respect your choice and decisions. But as your boyfriend, I do have some rights here, and I'm invoking that right and asking that you not be hungry and sad. If you want to be sad, then please be sad on a full stomach, filled with your favorite food. That's all I ask. Hearing this, she became emotional, and she said, I haven't been the best girlfriend in the world for the past week, and I apologize for that. It's just that it's been hard for me to see someone with whom I spent 9 years of my life and who gave me a lot of excuses. Now he is just disregarding his own statements. Can you imagine anyone in a 9-year-old relationship where the couple don't live with each other or don't go on holidays together? They have absolutely no talk of getting engaged or married. Hell, he even got upset if I sent him a text while he was working. Well, me and my ex were like that. On top, he always used to say that marriage as an institution is archaic and he won't participate in it. Also, he looked down upon age gap relationships too. Now he's marrying someone 8 years younger than him, and he's already living with her and gone on holidays together too. That's why I've been feeling down. I don't want him back. I've already upgraded to a much higher level. She meant me, but it's just the feeling of wasting 9 years of my life, which is the most painful. So I gave her a hug and told her that if she wanted a shoulder to cry on or a mouth to talk shit about her ex, I can do both. So we both shared a laugh then. When I was leaving, she asked if she can stay with me for a few days as she doesn't want to be alone. I said sure. So she came with me, and right now she's setting up her workstation in my other bedroom while I'm making this update. She'll be staying with me the whole week, so thank you again, people. You have been of immense help. And that one came across is very, very sweet in the way that OP dealt with it as well. Taking her out some food, letting her be vulnerable and talk about how she's actually feeling, and you both come out stronger for it, which is absolutely wonderful, and I do really wish them all the best going forward. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our final story comes from Stories About Kevin from Careful Improvement, and it's titled, I own a bowling alley. My former employee was the ultimate Kevin. Posted about an idiot vandal last night and reminded me about this guy I used to employ. I own a mid-sized bowling alley with about 10 employees. Kevin was 19 when this happened. Under a year ago, maybe 8 months. I hired him after losing 2 employees in a week, so I was desperate for somebody. He did so much damage, it was worse than no employee. Here's some of Kevin's greatest hits. He was caught humping a bowling ball in the break room. Kevin intentionally forgot to put oil on the lanes because he read somewhere that it would make the ball blow up, and he thought that would be cool. Kevin eventually got removed from anything except for serving food and drink. I figured this would be okay. Oops, that was a mistake. Pretty soon, on the first day I put him on duty serving food for a full shift, a woman comes up to the counter and asks to see a manager. Confused, I asked her what happened. She tells me her pizza is too dry to eat. You know where this is headed. I go to check on Kevin, but he blocks the entrance to the back room with his body and yells to the woman at the counter, "We used a new tomato sauce." I immediately panic. This is clearly a lie. We don't make our own pizzas. They're food service. I push past him and discover the SOB is serving the customers week-old pizza that has been sitting in a cold, dry room. Kevin tells me I didn't want to waste food and I thought you'd be mad at me. We had a Christmas party one time and Kevin literally tried to go down the chimney of the business, but the mofo couldn't get down further than his waist. The fireman came to get him out. We found him playing one-person soccer with our plastic food containers, kicking them and running after them and trying to kick them into goals like the pins that are on the bowling lanes. I was using the toilet once when Kevin walks into the bathroom and stands outside my stall calling 911 to report I was dead. I tell loudly, "Hey, I'm alive in here." Kevin tells me, "You weren't moving. I thought you were dead." Sorry. Cops still had to check it out and search the whole place. He bought a taser and used it on himself while on the job. Kevin told me he bowled a 300, with no proof of course. He got super defensive when challenged, up to the point of sending me a photoshopped pic of a 300 claiming it was his. Then he told me it was just an example, and his looked like that. It was only an example, I swear, and starts crying. My business partner, call him Rob, who I worked with for 20 plus years, was left in charge alone with Kevin one night, and I went home and the others weren't in. While I'm home, I get a text from Rob. I hate N-word, a Jew slur, and lube suckers. It turns out Kevin took his phone. Then I fired Kevin. That was too much. Still, the worst employee I ever had. There's a part 2. I hope he comes in with part 2 and says, "I figured I might as well post a few more stories I remembered about bowling alley Kevin. For context, read my first post." He left his phone out for all of us to see with the Pornhub search, T-Rex with a hot poker in its ass. Oh, bloody hell. In the middle of a shift, Kevin started shrieking and letting out a groan that sounded like a T-Rex with a hot poker in its ass. Turns out he got a paycheck and noticed it was less than the $480 he earned, or $12 an hour for 40 hours. He forgot taxes exist, and kept Kevin. Kevin asked a new employee, call her Jane, she'd be important later, to go into the storage room and get a box of strikes. Jane spent 2 hours of a 4-hour shift searching the whole establishment before coming to me to ask what the fuck a box of strikes was. Kevin went out into the parking lot mid-shift and started laughing and whooping, also screaming, "I'm on a unicycle with no seat." He'd stolen my business partner's crutches. He broke his leg that week, put wheels on them, and was rolling down the hill, falling on his ass every 15 seconds. He also broke a bowling ball in half. One time Jane was serving pizza to a customer, and Kevin stopped her mid-conversation with the customer to loudly let her know that this customer was a bastard. It was one of our most frequent customers, an old guy. Apparently the night before Kevin was out of my sight for 2 seconds, the mother trucker put mayonnaise on the poor old man's pizza. We don't even have mayo in the fridge, he brought it from home. The old guy told Kevin to throw away the pizza and get him another. This made the old man a bastard by the Kevin scale of moral rules and superiority. And the editor on this one said that there was another post, but it couldn't be fully recovered, and someone commented on it just saying there's no way that these stories are true. And the OP came in and said, "Perhaps you don't realize how few people will work here. In a small town Iowa bowling alley. No Kevin, no livelihood. When I fired him, it was impossible to decide, even at that point." That's a wild ass collection of stories, and having to put up with that guy for so long, and it just reminds me of the guy that I used to know in a warehouse, and I've told a couple of stories of him before. You know, he made his own pallet fence at home. It looked like absolute shit, I gotta be honest, but he went and made it by stealing pallets from our workplace. Another one from this guy, we worked in like a, I won't give away the full details, but like a paper type company, so they had like massive like guillotines in there, like massive machine where you have to push the big stacks of paper into it, press it, and then it cuts through a huge stack. I wasn't there to see this, but apparently he was caught trying to just cut random things with it because it was so sharp and fascinating to him. It's just like, what the fuck goes through your mind? But yeah, bloody hell. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a